Hi there, Zamir for NerdTube. These are my thoughts as well as some spoilers of Mobland Season 1, Episode 2, Jigsaw Puzzle. I have to say, quite impressed with this show now we're 2 episodes in, because there is consequences, the shit has hit the fan, things need to be resolved pretty quickly. For a start, Archie got killed. He was Conrad Harrigan's best friend for 50 years, and Conrad was the one who did the killing. Now we get to see Harry, played by Tom Hardy, doing his cleaner side of being this right hand man to Conrad, because he's telling his soldiers what to do regarding this dead body. Because there'll be blood sprayed everywhere, so the curtains need to be removed, some floorboards need to be removed, some walls need to be repainted. But if the police do a checkup at the Harrigan's home regarding the missing body of Archie, then they don't want the Harrigans to be incriminated, so a cover up needs to be done. And as Harry goes home after a busy day of getting rid of bodies and covering up Conrad's mess, he reminisces of a time when he was in jail and meets Paddy Considine's character, who's also a Harrigan, and that's how we believe he gets in with the Harrigans at an early age. And as Harry's going to bed, the police break down his house and they arrest him because they are looking for Archie. So, what the fuck? Anyway, why they're looking for Archie? Well, late in this episode, Harry does get bailed out by his very fit lawyer, and then when he goes to speak to Conrad, he believes, Harry does, that maybe Archie was not only skimming from the top, he was also possibly a grass as well, which is why the police knocked down Harry's door so soon after his death. Anyway, what comes from that, we'll find out a bit later on, I believe. I think that particular can of worms has not been sealed. There's more to come from that. But we also, there's some weird little subplots here and there. Like, for instance, there's two other siblings of Paddy Considine's Harrigan member. He's got a half sister and I believe an older brother. And the half sister and older brother are actually having a conversation with each other in a cafe, some sort of proposal. And at one particular moment, the half brother says, "I'm gonna give you an offer that will make you really wet," which is something you don't say to your fucking sister, half sister or not. And she claps back at him saying, "Why are you saying that to me?" Where he goes, "Well, you're only my half sister and you are pretty fit." And I'm like, what the fuck? And this incestual sort of thing happened maybe a couple of times in this episode. As you can see, there's a picture of Helen Mirren caressing her grandson on her bosom, and that seemed a bit incestual almost as well, the way they were doing it. I don't really want to talk about that too much. Paddy Considine's character also, and I'm really sorry I'm being bad with the names, but 2 episodes in, I'm not really great with the names just yet. He has an estranged wife who I think works in Parliament, and her husband, sorry, not her husband, her father is quite a big person within Parliament as well, and she has some French guys who want to work with her dad and do business with her dad because he's a politician. Excuse me. So we'll see how that all pans out. Is she in danger as well? Because the Stevensons want to get after Eddie Harrigan, and they might go after other members of the Harrigan family if they don't find out what's happened to their son, because Stevenson Sr. is out for blood because Stevenson Jr. hasn't come back home yet. So Paddy Considine's wife, she was asked at one particular point to stay at this hotel by Harry D'Souza, and she also wants to fuck Harry D'Souza, but Harry, fortunately doesn't shit where he eats. And we see a car chase earlier on in this episode as well. I'm not into these car chases, even though it was done pretty well. A show like this, a gangster show like this, doesn't need car chases. It needs that psychological edge of entrapment, of getting one over, of people getting whacked. These chess game sort of plays that are done by organized criminal minds. That's what I like to see when it comes to shows like this. So I hope we don't get any of that that sort of fucking car chasing bullshit too often, because it's not really my cup of tea. It felt very Sons of Anarchy like. If you ever seen Sons of Anarchy, a show I did love, by the way, but they had these stupid car chases in there now and again. Anyways, with the Stevenson boy gone missing and the Stevenson family trying to get hold of Eddie Harrigan and failing, they then focus on Harry. Harry actually goes to meet the Stevensons and says, you know what, I'll find your boy for you. But the Stevensons are not fucking around now. They were supposed to meet Harry early on, but he did get nicked. You know, the police broke into his house. But they don't give a fuck about that either. They tell Harry, if you don't find my son by tonight, I'm going to go after your daughter. And they show pictures of Harry's daughter to him to make him understand. And now Harry's on a mission, and he takes a couple of his henchmen with him, and they start doing investigations. They speak to a couple of lads who were with Eddie and the Stevenson boy. We saw that in the first episode. They speak to those lads. They give them some information saying that Eddie was good friends with the guy who owns the nightclub, and so with this information, Harry believes that the guys who own the nightclub know where the Stevenson boy is, and they go in packing with knuckle dusters and guns, and Harry beats the shit out of the owner, you know, breaking bottles over his head, making him bleed everywhere, wanting to know where the Stevenson boy is. Eventually, the owner gives in and takes Harry to the Stevenson boy, but the Stevenson boy has been chopped up into little pieces and put into a box. And I have to say, what's so funny is how impressed Harry and his henchmen are with the method of how the owner chopped up this guy, because he's done clean cuts and he's wrapped him up in cling film, and we find out that the owner is also the son of a butcher, which is why he chopped up the lad so well. But the Stevenson boy is dead. He's been chopped up into pieces, and now Harry has to go back with that news to the Stevenson Senior and tell him that your son's never coming back. And he'll probably obviously throw the owner under the bus, because he deserves to be, because he was the one who killed him, the Stevenson Jr. in the first place. So all of this shit is to come next week, and I very much look forward to it. A really good, stellar episode, action-packed, fast-paced, great moments, stupid moments, but overall very enjoyable. I did have a good time with this episode, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I'm going to give episode 2 of Jigsaw Puzzle, and you know, it's called Jigsaw Puzzle for a reason, because of, you know, the lad being chopped up into pieces and probably being put together like a puzzle, and the puzzle of obviously finding out where the Stevenson Jr. was in the first place, and the puzzle of obviously dealing with the Archie conundrum as well, which, as I said earlier, is something I believe that still needs to be resolved, and we'll probably find that out a bit later. But yeah, now let's find out what happens with the knowledge of the Stevenson boy being killed, and how Stevenson Senior is going to deal with that. I'm very much looking forward to that. This is a great show. Fucking love it. I can't wait for next week's episode already. I'm gonna give episode 2 a 9 out of 10. I would probably give it a 10 if it wasn't for that fucking car chase, but 9 out of 10. You know, first episode was called Stick or Twist, and a good friend of mine called Daniel Vance says he's going to stick with this show, and I also stuck with it too. And there's no twisting now, baby. I am sticking with Mobland after episode 2. If you want to say twist, then bring on episode 3, but I want to see that right now. But yeah, great show, love it. I can't wait for the next episode. Bring it on. 8 out of 10, as I said earlier. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest social media channel you never heard of. Did you like this episode as much as I did? I did. Like I said earlier, it was went at a decent pace, and lots of stuff was happening, and it didn't feel like they had to build up to a season finale. It's happening right now, all this crazy stuff. So I can't wait to see what's happening next week. I'm glad it's not necessarily building up to a season finale. Maybe shit will happen during the course of the show that will feel like, okay, now we're at a season finale sort of stage. But with the Stevenson boy already being killed, and that needs to be resolved, you know, like, and we're only on episode 3. Like, wow, like, this is great stuff. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next week. All right, take care now. Bye bye.